Hi, I'm Eli Princeton, the lead singer of Dream Patrol. I have a list of questions here. I'm going to read off to you one by one that were presented to me, all about Dream Patrol and the upcoming album and the band. And so here we go. I'm going to start from the first one. Okay, it says, tell us your story about how you joined Dream Patrol. Okay, well, I worked with Ronnie and Philip before with Signum Regis, and I did a guest track on the Exodus album called Let Us Go. So I've known them for a couple years. But as you probably saw Ronnie say on another video, a couple years passed by because they asked me to sing for the band for Signum Regis way back, and I couldn't do it because I was singing for Sacred Warrior at the time. I just didn't have the time, but I loved the music, so I was still allowed to do one track on there just to experience that. It was really great. But I hadn't heard from him for a couple of years. And then out of nowhere, I got an email from Ronnie, and he's like, hey, we're doing something totally new here. Because both of us used to doing power metal for years. And he's like, this is a hard rock project I'm working on. And he wanted to know if I was interested in being a part of it. And I'm like, well, wow, hard rock. Okay, I haven't done this before, not since I was a kid, you know. So I listened to it, and it was really good. You know, it was like I haven't heard this kind of music, you know, since, I mean, a long time has passed, right? And so I really enjoyed it. So he sent me 3 songs, and I listened to them, and right away I loved them. They're really good. So I went ahead and recorded them for him because rather than it just be like, okay, you're in the band, here you go, it was an audition process because they already had a few guys that had recorded these songs. And so I'm like, okay, cool. And recorded them, sent them back to them, and almost immediately it was like, okay, here's the next one, here you go. Here's the next one, here you go. So it kept recording, and you know, just kind of found ourselves creating this album together, and it's been a lot of fun. It's refreshing. As much as I love power metal, I still love it. It was really fun to just get back to your roots or your first love of music as a kid. You know, hard rock. You know, that early, before metal really hit. You know, kind of classic hard rock, and so I've really been enjoying it. All right, and the next question is, what's your favorite song on the album? Okay, well, I'm kind of torn. There's a lot of them I really love, but one of them is more special to me than the other ones. It's called Haunted Tower. This was after I had just kind of got the word that, yeah, you're our new singer, and I had done the 3 audition tracks. I'd already recorded those. So this was one of the first ones that I got beyond what everyone else had heard, the other singers. And when I first would get the tracks, they would have, Ronnie would actually, the bass player, would actually sing how the words went. If the song had lyrics, and this would be a guide for me to listen to it, to get to know the song, and then to record it. And so I had went on a trip with my daughter to Orlando, to MegaCon last year. And we were listening to this song because I was excited about it. It was something new. And we were listening to it on the way there, on the drive there. We had about an hour drive. And we had the chorus in our head, you know, see the haunted tower. And for some reason, it just stuck in our head. And the whole 3 days we were hanging out, back and forth out of nowhere, we would hear each other be like, see the haunted tower burning to the ground. And we would laugh because it was just like stuck in our heads for 3 days, you know? So that one immediately kind of sticks out to me. It's something I'll always remember. And the other one is called Get Back Home. And that was the one that really jumped out to me as far as like, wow, this is hard rock. You know, this has a driving sound to it. I love it. And the guitar riff that Philip plays on there is just, it's awesome. Okay. And again, the vocal demo, which was done by Brian Galloway, was really, really intense. Really intense. I think that if I didn't get the job with Dream Patrol, I would have. If it was up to me, I would have picked him, because this guy was ripping on the vocal example. And so that one really stuck out to me, and I was like, man. So those two songs are my favorites on the album. Okay, next question. Which song is the most difficult one to sing? Well, this kind of ties in with some of these other questions, but some of these songs are the way I'm singing on this album is a little different than what I've done in the past. Like in the past, I've sang, super high with the Sacrificed, and a little bit all over the place with Sacred Warrior. But a lot of Dream Patrol is in the mid range and the mid high range, and it's more kind of hard, a little bit of rasp, a little bit of distortion, like you would expect when you're listening to White Snake or something like that. That kind of grit, not like death metal or nothing like that. But so there's a little more drive in the voice there. But I think the hardest one, probably technically, for I would say anybody would have a hard time singing, would be a song called "Piece of Paradise," because I do go pretty high in that song, but it's all belted, so there's no head voice, because I wanted it to match the rest of the album. I wanted it to have a lot of power, so I didn't give way to the head voice. I stayed in chest and the real voice, and just sang it really high. And there's a lot of words to that song, so it's like a lot of breath control, range, etc. All right, the next question is, how does the process of recording a new song look like? What is it like with Dream Patrol? I actually showed this to my students, because I'm a voice teacher, that the way that we record songs is really cool. The way I do it with Dream Patrol, Ronnie will send me an empty track to put in my studio with no words or anything, and then another track that has him singing how the song goes, how the words go, so I'll know how it goes and I can learn it. He'll sing it, he'll pitch correct it so it'll be exactly the way it's supposed to be, and it gives me a guide of what to sing. And then he also sends me a piano track, so it's just like the syllables and the notes ding 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 that go along with the words and everything. And there'll be multiples of those piano tracks for the harmonies, so it really makes the recording process really easy. But that's what I do. So I'll learn the song, get all the lyrics and everything, practice singing along with Ronnie, and then I'll go into the studio and track it. So that's pretty standard, but it's real helpful. A new, very simple process that I never would have thought to do on my own. So happy about that. Okay. Next question is, people know you as a metal singer. Is this your first hard rock record you did? What did you do differently from what you usually do when recording a metal album? Well, this is the first time I recorded a hard rock album, but when I was, before I even really learned how to sing, I used to listen to a lot of hard rock. My favorite bands, one of my favorite bands growing up was AC/DC, which I think is probably one of the best hard rock bands in history. So I used to struggle and scream and try to sing that stuff before I took vocal lessons. So I loved hard rock growing up as a kid, but never actually did it in a band. Because by the time I had a trained voice, I was singing power metal, because that was my favorite kind of music, and the way I could really express the full range and all that was with power metal. I just felt it more. So this is like, it's like going back to your childhood almost. It's like, rock and roll, heavy rock is just got a driving simplicity to it that just is fun. It's fun to listen to, fun to sing along to, fun to crank up and get people excited. So it's a lot of fun to do. A lot of fun. I think the way this is a bit different for me is stepping out of the box a little bit and adding some kind of gritty soul to the sound, which is something I never did before, because on all the power metal, I'm saying it was more theatrical sounding, almost operatic, and then this time there's a little bit of blues here and there, and some, oohs and ahs and yeahs and things that I never did before. So people that are used to listening to me with the Sacrifice, they're going to be kind of surprised when they hear some of this stuff. They'll still recognize my voice and my style and my range and stuff like that, but some of this other stuff is gonna it might throw them at first, but I think they're gonna enjoy it. Okay. The next question was, can you describe the lyrics on the album? Are there any in which you can relate to on a personal level? I actually didn't write any of the lyrics on this album, but I definitely can relate to some of them. One song in particular would be Lost Child. It's just about someone who's lost their way a little bit, and then just calls out to God, hey, Lord, I'm falling down on my knees again, and kind of need a helping hand to get you back on your way. So that one I can relate to, and the other ones is just straight up rock and roll. It's awesome. Okay. Next question is, what's your favorite guitar riff and guitar solo on the album? Right. There's so many. I'm probably going to record this and then later be like, I should have picked that one because there's so many. But like I said earlier, the main riff, the main riff on Get Back Home is just so driving. It's just, again, that simplicity that just, gives you that feeling. It's like, if you think back to old AC/DC, I mean, most of their songs were like 3 chords, maybe 3-4 chords just rearranged, but you found and that one beat, that 4/4 beat for 30-40 years, as everybody, So this riff on Get Back Home is it makes you want to explode. It's just awesome. So that's my favorite riff on the album. And actually, the riff that the solo kicks in on Stand Up and Fight, it is just awesome. It's just very dun 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 dun, and that solo comes in. It's just done the right way to where it grabs you. Okay. Philip's solos are amazing. So are Lieber's, but I really love what he did with the cover that we did. We did a Rod Stewart cover of "Is That the Thanks I Get," and Philip is just going off at the towards the end of this song. He's just shredding. He's all over the place. It's really cool. But I think some of the best solos I've ever, one of the best guitarists I've ever worked with. At least top 2. Philip and Mike Phillips, best guitar players I've ever played with. So you're in for a treat. The guy is amazing. Okay. Next question. How is it to be living in the U.S. and being in a band with Europeans? All right. Actually, it feels exactly the way it did as far as the process, the recording process, and the communication. Feels the same way as it did when I was in Sacred Warrior. Those guys lived in Illinois, Chicago, and Aurora, Wheaton, Illinois, and I live in Florida. So we communicate either by internet or the phone, and send tracks back and forth through the internet. And I recorded my studio here. They record in their studio in Aurora, and then they would put it together. And then when there was a show, I'd fly out there and meet them, and we'd take it from there. So it's really the same thing. It doesn't seem like the distance is any further than Skyping with somebody down the road. It really doesn't. So that's the miracle of technology nowadays, is that you can do music projects all the way across the planet, and just by transferring files. So yeah, that's how that feels. Okay, next one. Is there any chance that we might see you singing live with Dream Patrol? Well, of course, time will tell. We'll see how the album does. We expect it to do well. We have something really special here. There's not a weak song on this album. I can say that completely confident. It's a great album. It's got to be listened to. It's got to be heard. So hopefully this will get out there and enough people to hear it, and there'll be a demand for shows and things like that. So yeah, there's a good possibility of that. Okay, next question. What are your plans for the future? Well, my plans, see how this album does. Probably a follow-up album. I'm sure there'll be more. We definitely don't feel like this is just a one-shot thing. We're really enjoying ourselves here. So there's probably going to be, I'm sure, will be more Dream Patrol. And I've been asked several times, will you do another album with the Sacrificed? A lot of Sacrifice fans have asked me. They've been asking me this for years. But I got busy with Sacred Warrior, and I'm also a voice teacher, and have a family and things. So it's been tough to put it all together. But we'll see. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm leaving it open. There very well could be another Sacrificed record in some shape or form. So we'll see. Okay. And that about does it. So that's my list of questions. And now you know a little bit more about how I fit into Dream Patrol and a little bit more about things. So I invite you to subscribe to the Dream Patrol YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook. Get your hands on the album. It can be pre-ordered at dreampatrol.net. And I really hope you enjoy it and hope to see you out there in the future.